I remember seeing articles a couple of months ago that YouTube was going to collect taxes from non-U.S. creators based on their U.S. audience. Was this a surprise, and did it have a big effect on your channels?
Sorry, what was the last part?
Was this a surprise, and did it have a big effect on your channels?
Honestly, it's a surprise it took so long.
Yeah.
Amazon, I mean, even from my first, I'm trying to think, when was my first self-published book with Amazon? Like right away, you had to enter in your tax ID. The way through is to have, I mean, is Corey Reed Canadian? Or he's just asking?
Is Corey Canadian? I know he's just asking, but
So
the way through is to get an EIN.
Right. Employee identification number.
You're allowed, and you can do that as a Canadian. You can get an EIN just to identify yourself, so they, you don't want to, even as a Canadian, you don't want to be like Google does not want to be on the wrong side of the IRS.
And he's Canadian.
Oh, he's Canadian? Okay, so you get an EIN. EIN. It's a tax identifier number in the U.S. And then the tax goes to zero.
The EIN stands for employee identification number.
Yeah, so you get that.
You get that when you start a business.
If you're American, you get the TIN too, but you can't get that as a Canadian. We can't get an American TIN, which is tax identification number. We can't get that. I mean, unless you have dual citizenship. Otherwise, you get the EIN, and then YouTube could take. It's funny because they say 25%, but that's for is that for corporation? That's if you're a corporation. Individual can go up to 40%. So they should be withholding 40% of your YouTube earnings. So when I found out about it, everybody got a notification. I hopped on a call with my partner manager at YouTube because he connects with a lot of he's responsible for the Canadian big YouTubers. He said, dude, you need to tell everybody, like everybody's freaking out. Just tell them, get an EIN. It's not hard. It's not hard to do. And then the tax rate goes to zero. Because it's just Google not wanting to get on the wrong side of the IRS. Nobody wants to get on the wrong side of the IRS.
The main reason is so the U.S. So basically, the IRS is trying to not have to deal with revenue that is generated as a function of U.S. citizens. Is the rationale of like why they're doing it. Because there's some provision for it.
I'm just surprised it took so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, because we love Canadians.
Go get the EIN.
Is there a U.S. Canadian tax agreement where like up to a certain revenue generated from the U.S. it's 0% tax?
There's a I don't think there's even
threshold.
You just have to. They just need to know where it's going. The IRS doesn't like not knowing where the money is.
Yeah.
Basically. So yeah, go get an EIN, and the advice is super poor. Like there's no guidance on what to do. So that's why I told my partner manager, like this is gonna screw over. Can you imagine you lose 40% of your revenue now to withholding tax just because you don't have the right identification? So yeah, I already had my EIN, so I just gave it to them. Boom, done. Problem solved.